Coming up next, take a trip back in time to when Marvel Comics got a hold of the Super Sentai franchise. Stan Lee meets the Power Rangers? Well, not quite. For a fun ride in great 70s fashion, stay here. This is GTV. Nuff Said. Super Sentai! The never-ending high-action special effects super show, the ultimate battle of good versus evil. Whether you prefer the original Japanese version or the official Americanized import, the Power Rangers, you can't deny that the show is 1. Awesome, and 2. Seems to have been around forever. In the US, the Power Rangers has passed its 30th anniversary, while the original Japanese Super Sentai reached the half-century mark on April 5th, 2025. With such a long history, it feels fait accompli that the series has been loved from day one. And while I'm sure there are at least a few guys in their 50s or 60s that have watched every episode from day one, the success of the present doesn't tell the whole story. To keep things short, manga and special effects artist Shotaro Ishinomori gave life to the TV series Kamen Rider, combining high-speed motorcycles with sci-fi themes. There is more to it than just that, but hey, this is only a 40-minute show. Shotaro Ishinomori tried to expand on the concept of Kamen Rider with Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger. Again, to keep it short and probably infuriating a lot of hardcore fans, Go Ranger is the same thing as Kamen Rider, but instead of 1 superhero, there would be 5. Yeah, 5 of them! Since 1975, the Super Sentai series has seen annual entries with different teams, settings, and powers. The series has been exported all over the world in multiple languages. Nearly every one has a non-Japanese version of some sort. Sure, Go Ranger and Kamen Rider were well received, but afterwards, Shotaro Ishinomori would leave these shows and move on to other works, as all good artists do. What was left behind were concepts that others inherited. Though it's been forgotten now, there was a time when Kamen Rider was taken off the air. Super Sentai wasn't too far from that fate either. But the series survived thanks in part to outside interests that saw potential in bringing the show to America, officially and nationally. More than just a local broadcast in California or Hawaii, with the backing of a strong, recognizable brand, Marvel Comics. Yep, good old Stan Lee wanted to bring the Super Sentai series stateside, and struck a deal with Toei Company, the Japanese rights holders. The end result wasn't just a simple licensing deal, but a 50-50 partnership. Marvel would co-produce multiple versions of the Sentai series, and in exchange, have the rights to distribute those stateside in whatever manner Marvel saw fit. Marvel sent its most famous character, Spiderman, over to Japan for an all-new, original adventure. And in the dark ages before the internet, no one would be the wiser as to what was really happening. It all came together in 1978 when Spiderman, the first of 4 series under this partnership, hit the airwaves in Japan. When we come back, get your Spidey senses in check.
この番組はお子様に夢と勇気をと願うポピーとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Spiderman.冒険オートバイチャレンジマシーンを知ってるか。やった大ジャンプチャレンジマシーンホッピーより新発売。
On May 17th, 1978, a new show, simply titled Spider-Man, debuted on Tele-Tokyo, Channel 12 on the old analog dial. And let's just get it out of the way early. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. Truly a bizarre case of East meets West. The story is centered on a young man, Takuya Yamashiro, an up-and-coming professional motorcycle racer. In the first episode, he witnesses a UFO crash to Earth. Lucky for him, Takuya's father is a space archaeologist. I had no idea there was such a thing. Together, the father and son duo investigate the crash. The ship, named the Marveler, carries the last survivor of the planet Spider, a man named Garia. Planet Spider was destroyed by the evil army of the Iron Cross, an evil, powerful force led by Monster, who plans to conquer the entire universe. Humans do not have the powers needed to defeat the Iron Cross, but Garia passes on his abilities by injecting his blood into Takuya. Now, becoming the Spider-Man, Takuya is given the spider bracelet, which holds the spider suit and produces an infinite amount of spider string. Garia also passes on the Marveler spaceship. Stored inside is the Spider GP7, an all-purpose vehicle. The Marveler also transforms into the Leopardon, a giant fighting robot. After instructing Takuya to save humanity and the entire universe from Monster, Garia, the final survivor of the planet Spider, dies. While all of that would be enough for anyone to take in, Takuya's father is killed by Monster while investigating the crash site. The dichotomy of having the weight of the world on your shoulders, unbeknownst to all, while also seeking vengeance against your father, is a great setup for the series, as well as internal motivation for Takuya, aka Spider-Man. With his father now gone, Takuya assumes the head of the household, caring for his sister, Shinko, and brother, Takuji. Takuya also has a girlfriend, Hitomi, who works as a newspaper photographer, although she aspires to be a proper journalist. She is a pivotal character in the series, as her work allows news of the battle between Spider-Man and the Iron Cross to reach the public. Takuya keeps his identity a secret. Even his brother and sister don't know the truth, setting up some funny situations where Takuya gets admonished for not being a brave man like Spider-Man. As for the bad guys, the aforementioned Monster is the leader of the Iron Cross. He commands an army of henchmen called Ninders. His number 2 is the Amazones. In a great plot twist, she assumes the identity of Saeko Yoshida, who infiltrates the newspaper where Hitomi works. In each episode, Monster summons an evil creature called Machine Bem. Like in other Super Sentai series, each one has a unique design, has special abilities, and ties closely to the story of the episode. Not only are the Machine Bems stronger than Ninders, they also have the ability to grow to a gigantic size, nicely tying in the need for the Leopardon, which lead to the battle scenes that take place in the second half of each episode. All the events unfold over the course of 41 episodes, and an original theatrical film, released between episodes 10 and 11. It all leads to a final confrontation between Spider-Man and Monster. I won't spoil things, but the plot is resolved, and there is a definite ending. The production itself is ancient. This was 1978 after all. There was no such thing as computer animation. There are a lot of fast cuts, zooms, and reverse playback to give Spider-Man the illusion of having superpowers. Much of the action footage, especially with the Leopardon, is reused. If you watch all the episodes from the remastered DVD box set released in 2005, the production values get old rather quickly and start to become a pain to watch. Very simply, you see the strings. A lot. Thinking back to what the original audience saw, I can be much more forgiving. I mean, you were probably a kid watching this on a Wednesday night. Your dad and grandfather are sitting in the corner of the living room talking and smoking. Your little brother's jumping up and down in front of the TV, and your mother is yelling at you to finish your homework. The show comes in on an old 13-inch analog TV over the air, complete with signal interference and commercial breaks. You certainly forgot every shot in the episode by the time the next one rolled around. Then there's the music. The soundtrack is awesome. If you like heavy bass lines and syndromes, then not only do you have great taste, but you'll be swimming in that sonic euphoria from start to end. In addition to all the music heard in the action scenes, things crossed over into the actual story with the song Spider-Man Boogie. It really gives Godaigo a run for their money. So, should you watch the Toei version of Spider-Man? Yes! The historical importance of it is enough to take the time to sit down and give it a view. I found the pace a little slow. After all, the show has to last a year, so some episodes in the middle aren't very consequential, but the beginning and ending should be seen. When the final episode aired in March 1979, Spider-Man was officially big in Japan. The show was one of the highest rated for Teletokyo that year. Spider-Man merchandising, including comics and action figures based on the series, became hot items for kids everywhere. The inclusion of the Leopardon would alter the course of the Super Sentai series forever, shifting towards more giant monsters fighting robots and away from motorcycles. While the Spider-Man series did a few key things, it isn't recognized by Toei as an official Super Sentai installment. The show wasn't seen often in reruns and only released on home video in 2005 due to Marvel owning Spider-Man and expecting some royalties for rebroadcast. Negotiations in more recent years has led the series to be seen more widely once again. When Spider-Man ended, it was time to move on to the next, with something that was a bit more return to form. But still a case of finding chocolate in your peanut butter. When we come back, feel the fever. Battle Fever J.
この番組はお子様に夢と勇気をと願うポピーとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Spiderman マーベラーからレオパルドンにチェンジ。行くぞマシンベル。スパイダーマンが送る完全変化デラックス超合金レオパルドンポピーより発売中。
If Spider-Man, having just one superhero, gave way to a huge hit, then the more the merrier. That was the concept behind Battle Fever J, where you had not just one superhero, you had 5 of them. Debuting on Asahi TV, Channel 5 in Tokyo in February 1979, the series had the unusual quirk of airing concurrently with Spider-Man, for a while anyway, albeit on different channels. In Battle Fever J, a team of elite military agents is assembled from all over the world. Each member is specialized in a different fighting technique from that specific nation, led by Japan, Natch. The concept is kind of like Captain America, except it's Captain Japan, and Captain other places too. Battle Fever's arch nemesis is Satan Egos, a mysterious dark figure that leads the Society of Egos. He commands what he calls his children, known as the Ego Monsters, that do his evil bidding. Many blame Satan Egos for all the world's undoing since the dawn of history. His main disciple is Commander Header. He and his army of henchmen, known as the Cutmen, do the bidding of the Egos. The events of the first episode where the Egos infiltrate Japan set up the formation of Battle Fever. The team is mentored by General Kurama, who selected each of the 5 from around the world after the Ego's plan is discovered. A modern-day samurai, he holds the highest rank of sword mastery in the world and often teaches his techniques to the team, and even trained the Battle Fever Robo how to fight with a sword. The leader is Battle Japan, a former member of the National Defense Ministry and a martial arts master. Despite being a tough guy in every single way, he's dirt poor and can't even afford gas in his car. He always seems to be out of money. I can relate. Despite that, he's still a good family man. If only they knew the secret mission that he was on. Joining him is Battle France. He's a hairdresser by day who always wears the latest fashions. His favorite food is escargot, and he says oui a lot. All of this comes from his training in Paris. I don't know why French stereotypes are okay, but he sure used a lot of them. When fighting, he uses a flamenco-style dance move. I always thought that was Spanish. Battle Cossack. He was trained in Russia, but since this was the 70s and it was still the USSR, I guess they couldn't say Soviet Union for some reason. Yeah, Dr. Cossack from Mega Man 4, I know. If this was such a problem, why not just choose another country? Battle Australia or something. Give the guy a boomerang. Well, whatever the reason, he wears orange and has the painfully offensive hammer and sickle imagery on his uniform. Just remember, kids, communism doesn't work. No matter how many times you try it, rename it, repackage it, and pretend that this time you have all the right people to make it work. Marxism still fails every single time. But let's not forget the actor, Yukio Ito, who was part of the original Go Rangers as the Green Ranger. A trend that often happens, where actors will appear in different roles over the years. You'll see a lot of that here, if you look close enough. Battle Kenya with a jungle fighting style. He was born and raised in the jungles of Africa and forms a kinship with animals of all kinds. Think Tarzan. He's often seen cooking disgusting food that everyone hates. And he really does resemble a monkey. I mean, look at this getup. He's dressed like an extra from Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. The actor who plays Battle Kenya, Kenji Oba, is a Super Sentai veteran, being part of the action scenes of Go Ranger, though we never actually saw his face. He also does the fighting scenes himself in Battle Fever J. I hope he got 2 paychecks for that. Miss America. She was not originally recruited for Battle Fever, but when her father, a friend of General Kurama, is killed by the Egos, she insists on joining for revenge. As an aside, Miss America's name is Diane Martin, which is also the name of the actress who plays her. Yet her father is referred to only with the codename Mr. Boss. Her favorite activity is swimming, and I suspect that was just an excuse to have her in a bikini as much as possible. And on another tangent, Miss America is the only member of the team to have an actual connection to a Marvel character. Yeah, you might say, oh, that's just like a female Captain America, but there was an actual Miss America in the 1940s. The more you know. While Spider-Man was dark, for a family-friendly show, Battle Fever J runs in the opposite direction. It's goofy, campy, crazy, and funny. I laughed the entire time watching it, even if you don't count laughing at all the effects. Charming for the time, but ultimately bad. The Ego monsters have some great designs. The sports monster, the picky-eating monster, and the mechanical doll monster are just a few that have weird designs that tie into unusual schemes, most of which involve brainwashing kids so that the society will be fundamentally transformed and thus easily conquerable in the future. I mean, if kids won't eat their vegetables, just want to sit around and be lazy, playing with toys all day, caring about only themselves, and never growing up into responsible adults with a sense of pride in culture and history, with no desire to leave society better than it was found, what would happen, say, 40 years down the road? I don't want to know. For all Super Sentai shows, I recommend watching the first 5 and the final 5 episodes, if you don't have time to sit through all 50 or so, but there are a few in the middle worth watching. Episode 17, Steal the Monster Machine. The Egos are in pursuit of an engineer who designs some of the fastest race cars in the world, hoping he can design a Robo that can defeat Battle Fever. The Egos attempt to kidnap this man, but in true TV sitcom fashion, his twin brother was captured instead. He only makes Rube Goldberg-type contraptions that serve no purpose. He's insane and acts crazy and erratic the entire time, as opposed to his brother who's serious and straight-laced. And he looks just like Ron Mael from Sparks. Maybe he was part of the inspiration for this character. Episode 24, Tears, Diane Falls. This episode is pivotal to the story because Miss America gets replaced. Nobody's really sure, but rumor has it that Diane Martin, the actress who played Diane Martin, couldn't speak Japanese well enough to keep up with the production. It is a fact that all of her lines were dubbed by a separate actress. In the episode, the Egos are after Diane's sister, Catherine. Remember, the Egos have already killed her father. During one battle, Miss America gets severely injured and is unable to fight. So they recruit someone else to be new Miss America. And yeah, she likes to swim too. It's not the greatest episode, but if you pass it by, you'll wonder what happened. Episode 33, Cossack Dies for Love. Another change in the lineup as a new Battle Cossack joins the team. Without a doubt, the darkest and most serious episode. Cossack takes time away from the team to visit his former mentor, a scientist who has developed a new kind of drill missile that could be useful in defeating the Egos. While visiting, the Egos show up and kidnap the mentor's daughter. Things get complicated, and Cossack is left without his battlesuit while confronted by the Egos. Without any superpowers, he's gunned down. His friend, Jin, picks up the suit and vows to fight in his place until the Egos are defeated. That's all nice and good, but let's take a massive time out here. Battle Cossack is supposed to be Russian-influenced, I guess. The new Cossack looks like an American cowboy, and despite being a cowboy, he also has time to be a scientist and develop a missile? How does any of this fit together? In the ending credits of each episode, not the series, the team is seen horseback riding. Episodes 1 to 33 show Battle Cossack and everyone else in a close-up shot riding real horses. In episode 34 to 52, Jin, the new Battle Cossack, is seen riding the horse, except it's clearly a fake horse. Okay, fine, you just need 3 seconds of coverage for the ending credits, but then new Battle Cossack, a supposed Russian that's always dressed like an American cowboy, wears a suit. Oh yeah, and new Miss America, the one who joined 2 months ago, they reshot things for her too, except she's actually riding a real horse. It's something that will bewilder and befuddle me until the end of time. After 52 episodes, I would say the Japanified Captain America Sentai series was strange in some places, but the themes and some production elements still survive in the modern day. It looks a little out of place next to future entries, but once you get into the meat of the show, you'll find that the 1970s and the 2020s aren't so far apart. The Marvel-Toei partnership rolled on into 1980. When we come back, Denjiman.
この番組はお子様に夢と勇気をと願うポピーとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
バトルフィーバー出動。これがバトルフィーバーの全てだ。超合金バトルフィーバーポピーより発売中。デラックスバトルシャークもよろしく。
Moving on from Battle Fever J, Toei and Marvel continued on with their collaboration with Denshi Sentai Denjiman in February 1980. Now, if you take these works and put them in order, you'll notice a sliding scale where Marvel had a heavy hand in Spiderman, not as much in Battle Fever J, and with Denjiman, less than ever before. The Denji star was considered the most beautiful planet in the universe, and for millions of years, lived a peaceful existence. 3,000 years ago, an evil army known as the Vader clan declared war on the Denji star, forcing their own twisted standards of beauty upon the planet. During the war, an island, Denji Land, separated from the Denji star, landing on Earth. The island stayed hidden from the primitive humans of the time, and remained in a state of rest under the supervision of the Denji computer. When the computer detected the Vader clan coming to Earth, the Denji dog, IC, was awakened from cryogenic sleep. The dog, who speaks, by the way, summons humans, 5 of them, who are descendants of the Denji star, the Denji men. Denji Red, leader of Denjiman, a super karate master. Denji Blue, a circus acrobat, and if he looks familiar, yep, it's Kenji Oba, aka Battle Kenya. Denji Yellow, a scientific genius and skilled inventor. Denji Green, they started running out of ideas for the team members, but he seems to know how to play guitar. Denji Pink, the girl, and an expert swimmer. The 5 run an athletic club as their above-ground legitimate business, while keeping their identity as Denjiman a secret. Unlike most other Super Sentai series, there is no human commander, just the computer and the dog. I should also mention that each member has the Japanese word of their corresponding color in their name. That's pretty neat. The Den in Denshi Sentai Denjiman means electric, and the 5 heroes receive their power from electric charges, as seen in their helmets, uniforms, and weaponry. At the start, there isn't much known about Denjiman, though their origins get filled in over time as the characters and audience learn more about each member. Some of that comes from interactions with family, while others come from the Denji computer, which stores the entire history of Planet Denji. Part of the Denjiman story arc is discovering their past, as they are all descendants of another world. The mythology gets a full explanation with the introduction of the Denji princess. She resembles a Hellenic Athena. She survived the invasion on her homeworld 3,000 years ago, then coming to Earth, ensuring that someday the Denjiman would rise to fight the Vader clan. She then left Earth and entrusted her followers with the Rainbow Stone, which can ensure a Vader defeat. The Vader clan is led by Queen Hedrian, played by Machiko Soga. Her most famous role in the English-speaking world is Rita Repulsa from the original Power Rangers in 1993. Queen Hedrian travels from the Vader dimension with grand plans to force everyone to conform to her standards of beauty, which would then make her the most beautiful woman in the universe. She has Keller and Mirror as her bodyguards. They take up an alliance with General Hederer, who has his own plans for world domination. There is a lot of tension and distrust among the bad guys, which adds to the drama and excitement. It makes things feel a little more real, as corruption and the quest for power are natural human traits. It sure beats the one-dimensionality of other bad guys who just destroy for the sake of it. Like every Super Sentai series, nearly every episode features a unique monster, known as the Vader Monsters in Denjiman. The designs are getting much better, and in Denjiman, the monster maker is like a gachapon machine. The egg rolls out and hatches a new monster, which in this installment have numbers. It's like the producers were forcing a slight collectability aspect here. 51 monsters for 51 episodes. That's great, except for one thing. The numbers of the Vader monsters don't match the episode numbering. See this monster? Number 15. So you'd think that was the monster for episode 15. Wrong. It's episode 16. This series is certainly the best of the set co-produced with Marvel. The story is well written and deep. There are a few parts that have a Western superhero feel to it, despite all the elements that define Super Sentai being on full display. The costumes look much more modern compared to that of Battle Fever J. The Denjiman helmets have visors rather than eyes, and the robots have evolved, with the Denji Tiger land vehicle complementing the Denji Fighter robot. The team still uses traditional vehicles, which was common back then. I always thought it was weird that Denji Red usually rides alone, while the rest take the buggy. I mean, there's room. Let someone ride shotgun. It's hard to advise skipping through the middle like other series, because the action is paced so well and the story keeps evolving. So if you skip a few episodes, you'll end up confused because things move so fast. So just find the time to watch it all, and it will be worth it. When it was all said and done in January 1981, Denjiman was more popular than Battle Fever J. Toei had perfected the formula, and the course of the series would forever follow this trajectory. When we come back, Sun Vulcan.
この番組はお子様に夢と勇気をと願うポピーとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
僕たちの新しいメカを紹介しよう。秘密メカをフル装備。これが衝撃の戦艦電磁タイガーだ。オープン。電磁ファイター発進。電磁ファイターから大電磁へゲージチェンジ。超合金大電磁デラックス電磁タイガーポピーより発売中。超合金電磁マンもよろしく。
In February 1981, the follow-up to Denjiman, Taiyo Sentai Sun Vulcan, debuted on Asahi TV, same time slot and all. The success of Denjiman affected Sun Vulcan, being a direct sequel to Denjiman. In the Super Sentai world, characters return, stories cross over, and favorite actors reappear over and over again. But to have a true Part 2 to a prior series is not often done. The fan favorite of Denjiman was Queen Hedrian, despite being the bad guy. It's worth pointing out that by 1981, the actress, Machiko Soga, had been a celebrated performer for 20 years, appearing in all sorts of action and anime shows, and even a few things rated R. Her star power brought a large audience to Denjiman, and to ensure they'd stick around, she was included as part of the main cast of Sun Vulcan. A new evil force, the Machine Empire Black Magma, arrives on the scene sometime after the events of Denjiman. Black Magma is controlled by the Omnipotent God, a dark, mysterious figure who controls a robotic army. The leader is Führer Heck Saturn, the vessel through which the Omnipotent operates. Only not Heck. The other word. Below him are the Zero Girls, dangerous robot spies who cause trouble in each episode. It's kind of like the fembots from Austin Powers, for an easy comparison. The special weekly monsters are called Mongers, and, well, they are more of the same. A Monger appears, starts making trouble, Sun Vulcan investigate, they fight, it grows to a giant size, and the Vulcan robot wins the battle. As for Queen Hedrian, she is discovered near the Black Magma base, located at the North Pole. Somehow she wound up there. She was brought back to life via a mechanical heart, and works under Führer Heck Saturn. She isn't a robot per se, she does have free will, however, one step out of line and her mechanical heart, built by the Omnipotent, will be shut down. The threat of Black Magma forces the Earth Peace Defense Squad to create a new covert military team, combining the best of air, land, and sea forces, creating the Solar Warriors, Sun Vulcan. Daizaburo Arashiyama, commander of the Guardians of World Peace, is chosen to lead the Sun Vulcan. He is one bad dude. Maybe just because he reminds me of my own boss. But the hair, the shades, the purple suit, he rocks it all. At his side is his daughter, Misa. Above ground, they run the Snack Safari Cafe, providing cover for Sun Vulcan's underground base. On occasion, her dog, Cece, is around the cafe. Cece also talks and is related to IC. When Denjiman was in production, the dog that played IC died, so he dropped out of sight near the end, and a special memorial was made in his honor in the finale. Oh yeah, and Misa loves to swim. That's 3 shows in a row. The 3 warriors are Vol Eagle in red, leader of the team, and an Air Force officer. His animal, the eagle, represents air power. Vol Shark in blue, an oceanographer who detests violence. He joined the team with a noble call for peace. His animal, the shark, represents sea power. Vol Panther in yellow, a ranger who comes from a very wealthy family. His animal, the panther, represents land power. That's it, just 3 heroes. It really stands out as the strangest part of the series since usually there are 5 of them. This gives Daizaburo and Misa much larger roles. Whereas most commanders just give orders, Daizaburo is much more hands-on in the mission, though he does not participate in battle scenes. Misa became an unofficial Vulcan when she appeared as the White Rose Mask in a homemade costume. Other small details that are noteworthy are that each Vulcan's real name has one Japanese word of their representative animal, and that red, yellow, and blue are primary colors that, when combined, form pure sunlight. Those touches are kind of nice. Even though the hero in red is usually the leader and star of the show, Vol Eagle is switched out about halfway through the series. No permadeath, no internal conflict. He just bails. Honestly, I can't recall any episode where Vol Eagle was the focus. His character was just so plain and boring. His replacement wasn't much different. The real star of the show is Vol Panther. Not only is he the comic relief, but the best episodes are centered around him. He's a major goofball who loves to eat and eat. It's a good thing Sun Vulcan's cover is a cafe. He eats like a pig in nearly every episode. As an aside, I noticed the beef curry on the menu cost 500 yen in 1981, and despite some recent inflation and a 10% sales tax, the prices are almost the same today. Speaking of eating, there was even one episode where Vol Panther meets his dad, played by his real-life father, who was a famous composer of anime, film, and video game music. In that episode, number 38, the father is one of the richest men in the world. He's also a big fat pig. In true billionaire fashion, he sold one of his many mountains to pay for his extravagant meals, which contained the most expensive food in the world. Poor Vol Panther is stuck eating 1-coin curry. Father comes to visit son after hearing that Vol Panther had quit his original position, though naturally Sun Vulcan was kept secret. He tries to convince his boy to come home. Only after being rescued by his son does he realize he was wrong. While most of the episodes are light and comical, there are dramatic moments. These often tie Sun Vulcan back to Denjiman. The Denji princess and her descendants make appearances, one of whom was hiding in a convent while trying to re-defeat Hadrian with Esper powers. It's never really clear how much time has passed between these shows or what happened to the 5 Denjiman. They don't appear in the show, but it would have been cool. When Sun Vulcan concluded in January 1982, the partnership between Toei and Marvel came to an end. When we come back, the future timeline that this partnership altered forever.
この番組はお子様に夢と勇気をと願うポピーとご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
バルカン登場。オープン。コズモバルカン発進。ブルバルカン出動。2つのシステムメが合体。グランドクロス。スーパーパワーを秘めたビッグスケールジャガーバルカン。太陽合体3バルカン。ポピーより堂々完成。
On occasion, I will come across a news story or video with a sensational headline, "The Power Rangers That Failed," or some such thing. Of course, it has to use the internet's favorite word, fail. But is that true? Did this Marvel and Toei crossover really fail? Not ignoring the obvious, Stan Lee sending Spider-Man to Japan did not bring back a show that was an equivalent to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when that cultural exchange ended. American TV executives rejected the concept time and again. Let's lay out the case that what happened was a success on many fronts. The Spider-Man series in 1978 helped introduce the character to Japan. While a short-lived comic series was produced in Japan before this, the Toei series led to a wider visibility of the character, allowing for future versions of Spider-Man animation, comics, and film to enter Japan easily, to be enjoyed by all. The Spider-Man series introduced the concept of the giant fighting robot to Super Sentai, the popularity of which, on the screen and as an action figure, led to its inclusion in every series afterwards. This change, and others, didn't necessarily save Super Sentai, but did change the trajectory. Had these new concepts not worked out, it sure would have ended the franchise. The American producer of Spider-Man and other shows, Gene Pelk, stayed in Japan afterwards, continuing to bridge the cultural gap of Japan and the West by importing and exporting TV and film productions. One of the more famous films he worked on was Transformers from 1986. Marvel had a hand in the American distribution. Super Sentai continued to have overseas versions produced. One worth mentioning is a pilot of Bioman, produced by Haim Saban in 1985. It too was rejected, but like many things in life, fate takes many strange turns. Around that time, a woman named Margaret Lash became the CEO of Marvel Productions, the television arm of Marvel Comics. She didn't have a hand in the Toei collaboration, joining after it had ended. However, she believed in the concept very strongly and continued to push for it in the face of constant rejection. In the 1990s, Margaret Lash moved to the Fox television network, in the Fox Kids division. Not long after, Haim Saban walked in and pitched his version of Super Sentai to her. The rest is history. Considering all the steps this long journey took from 1978 to 1993, the success came in bits and pieces that, when put together, create a bigger picture. That, as I said before, looking backwards from today, feels predestined. So, maybe it all really was meant to be, and to be done in this way, after all. Whenever I see a movie or a TV show where the actor and the character have the same first name, I always think that actor is too stupid to remember he's playing someone else. Tony Danza always comes to mind, but Diane Martin doesn't even have a different last name. I hope those looks held out.